Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at a fragrance from the brand of which I am a creative director. The brand is Navitus Parfums and the fragrance is called Intimus. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin, I do want to let you know that I'm not necessarily going to be reviewing my own fragrance. I am more or less creating a discussion around it, letting you know what I think it smells like, but I'm also going to follow the format of my typical videos on my channel where I start with a little bit of a history on the fragrance and how it got started, then the presentation, then the smell, so on and so forth. And I'm very OCD in that sense, so I like to keep things consistent on my channel. So this is a fragrance that came out back in 2019 in November to be precise, and this is one of the original 7 fragrances that I was working on for Navitus Parfums. So as a creative director, being involved in the process is one of the most exciting things for me because I love fragrances so much. So when I wrote this brief, I wanted something that was a little bit on the sweet side, not necessarily a gourmand. I thought of all of the fragrances as being unisex fragrances, so they're shared. Whether you're a man or a woman, you can wear these fragrances very comfortably, and they don't necessarily define you in terms of the gender or the sex. And I also wanted something that was not overly floral, but also had a clean heart to it. And I think that this is something that was accomplished by the note of lily. And so I'm really impressed with the results from this fragrance. And the perfumer for this particular fragrance is Christian Carbonell. And obviously he works out of a factory in Spain. And I'm really happy that I've had the opportunity to meet him in person on more than one occasion. He and I communicate quite regularly, and I want to thank him for his services to the brand and just for his creative and artistic work that he has contributed to the brand, and it really, really means a lot. So the brand is a Latin themed brand, and so you have the name Navitus, which means energy. It also means passion, and it has roots in the word nauta, which means voyage or mariner, voyager. And fragrance kind of takes you on this journey, right? It enhances your energy, it enhances your mood. And lovers of niche fragrances, I mean, the only reason why one would commit themselves to a hobby such like this and become so involved in it as I have, and as many of you watching at home have, is because of the passion. And so Navitus means passion. And so I feel like this one name unified and sort of tied everything in together. And I found it to be the perfect name for this particular brand. And this one is called Intimus, which I'm sure if you can guess translates to intimate. And so this is certainly the type of fragrance that you would wear on a more romantic date night scenario. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to make a lasting impression. You also want to smell very likable, very lovable, right? You want to come across smelling just very sensual and very romantic. You don't want to turn anybody off. Of course, you don't want to wear something very dark and brooding and challenging, but you want to wear something that's really going to captivate your audience. And I found that this particular fragrance, of all of the ones that were pitched to me by the multiple perfumers, this is the one that sort of fitted that did fit that mold the best way. And so I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about the smell, but let's start things off with the presentation. So the box for this fragrance comes with this sleeve on it, and it has this infinity symbol motif with gold accents. The back of the box has a 2-paragraph blurb on the company, which I wrote myself. Feel free to pause your screen if you're interested in reading it. The sleeve comes off to reveal this sturdy and textured box. And then it also has a flap on the side where the box opens up to reveal a bed of silk in which the bottle rests. The inside of the box also comes with a card that has the name of the fragrance, as well as a popular Latin quote that matches up with the fragrance. This one is Amor vincit omnia, which means love conquers all. The back of the card has 3 adjectives which are best used to describe the smell. You have all of the notes listed, and towards the bottom, I also give credit to the perfumer, which in this case is Chris Carbonell. The bottle for this fragrance has the name towards the top. It has this pink gradient, which actually goes from black at the top, pink in the middle, and clear at the bottom. And you can also see there is this Zama cap at the top, which refracts light in a very nice way. Here is the back of the bottle, and the distribution on the atomizer is very wide. It actually has a pressurized atomizer, so you can control how much you want to spray. Let's continue with the smell. As soon as this fragrance opens up, what I get the most is this combination of apple and vanilla. It opens up very bright, very fresh in the opening. You know, you have the lemon, the bergamot, the orange, but then you also have this really nice fruity apple nuance that really stands out, and it comes across smelling very organic to my nose. But it's counterbalanced by this vanilla in the base that sort of amps up the sensuality. And so you do have a combination of these other sweet ingredients, and there are some ingredients in there like the lily of the valley and the geranium, and a little bit of this ambery warmth that come across smelling very sensual, very inviting and alluring. But I think it's really the vanilla in combination with this toasted sugar accord that really create the heart of this fragrance. And it makes it so that it's sweet, but just sweet enough where it's not a full-blown gourmand. And I think that that's the thing that I love the most about this fragrance. This bright, fresh, citrusy, but also apple-driven aroma that you get in the opening is going to last, I would say, about half an hour to an hour. And this fragrance is very non-linear in the sense that once you give it a chance to segue into the heart, you are going to get more of this lily of the valley, and some of the more floral nuances start to come into play. The geranium is kind of giving across a little bit of a rosy vibe, and geraniol and geranium, these ingredients in perfume can kind of give off that impression that it's a little bit rosy. But the thing about geranium is that it can also give the fragrance a sort of minty edge that I really enjoy. And it's not minty in the sense of like a Colgate toothpaste minty or anything like that. And I personally love minty fragrances, especially right around the summertime. But it adds an ample amount of sensuality in the heart of this fragrance. And I absolutely love that progression from that very bright, sort of fruity and fresh, citrusy, enveloping opening to the sort of slightly floral heart that is not overly floral to the extent that it becomes feminine or anything like that. And then finally in the dry down, you have a combination of different elements. You actually have oak moss in there, so you have this oak moss patchouli duality, but it's not overly green, it's not overly mossy. What really dominates the base of this fragrance is the vanilla and that toasted sugar accord. And every time I smell it, I can't help but subconsciously look for that. And I feel like it's the very first thing that announces itself. It's the very first thing that comes through, like this is a semi-sweet fragrance that is just super appealing for both a man and a woman if you're having a romantic night in, or if you're going on a romantic date, but you're also looking for something that is very versatile in the sense that you can kind of wear it all year round. I feel like the citrusy ingredients and the clean white florals in the heart make it super appropriate for the spring and summer, but I feel like some of those darker and denser notes like the moss and the vanilla kind of make it appropriate for the winter and the fall season as well. And if we're talking about longevity, you're going to get about 8 hours on your skin. So for a parfum concentration, this one is quite strongly concentrated, and it's a fragrance where just a few sprays can go a long way, in my opinion. This is what I found to be the case all throughout my testing when I was still working with the prototype from the laboratory, but also once it's been compounded and left to macerate for a significant amount of time, it really is at its peak strength, and I'm enjoying wearing this one a lot. Funny story, a few months ago, my wife was getting ready to leave the house, and I didn't have any fragrances here except for the ones from my brand. And she said, which one of these should I wear? And of all the fragrances, the 7 that I had in front of me at that moment, I said, why don't you go with this one? She said, are you sure? I don't want anything too masculine. I don't want anything that's going to be too strong. And I said, just smell it. Trust me. You don't even need to smell the atomizer. And she sprayed it on and she goes, oh, okay, yeah, this is a good one. I'm like, okay, I know. So I'm very thankful with the results. I'm very thankful with the way that it smells. I'm very thankful and couldn't be more grateful with the way that the brief was executed by this masterful perfumer. And I want to extend my thanks to him, but also to everybody at home who has been so incredibly supportive of this brand. Some of the reviewers who have even done videos on it, and they have featured this in their #1 spot. Just to everybody who has shown an incredible amount of love for this fragrance, my heart really thanks you, and I couldn't be in a better position right now. So thank you all so much for your interminable support. It means a lot to me. Let's finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, I do find this to be a very unique fragrance in the sense that I haven't really come across a fragrance that has this sort of apple toasted sugar, but yet mossy undercurrent. And it combines all of these different elements with like the geranium and the clean white florals, that slightly rosy appeal in the mid. This is like the perfect Valentine's Day scent in my opinion, but it's a fragrance that kind of extends beyond Valentine's Day. So it doesn't necessarily need to be worn only on February 14th. But it's a fragrance that can be worn any time of the year. It's incredibly versatile in that regard. And the overall smell is actually very pleasant and very appealing. It seems like whenever I've had people smell this fragrance, it's one that they are drawn to right away. I know there are some notes out there, whether it be vetiver or agarwood or patchouli, just some notes that don't necessarily resonate with everybody, and I completely understand. But in my opinion, there's nothing about this fragrance that will ever make somebody think twice. Like, this is an aroma that is just very likable, very easy to get along with, and like I said, very sensual and intimate. And it's one that I have been enjoying for a long time now, so I hope you have a chance to try it as well. Longevity, you're gonna get about 8 hours. Projection for this fragrance, it will project within an arm's length for about the first 3 hours of application. It doesn't start to sit closer to the skin until about that 5.5 to 6 hour mark. And it's really at that 7 to 7.5 hour mark that it really becomes a skin scent. And so it's not the most beastly performer, but I think given the occasions in which this fragrance should be worn, you don't really want something that's going to choke out other people or your significant other especially, right? You want something a little bit more cozy, a little bit more intimate, but it still packs a punch for what it's worth. In terms of the versatility, I think all occasions, whether you're wearing it on a casual basis or you're wearing it dressed on a formal level, I think it would do really well. I also think this is the type of fragrance that is suited for either a man or a woman. It's kind of unisex in that sense. And I think whether you're a very young person, it kind of has this sweetness in it that makes it youthful. But then there's also something about this refinement that is found with the geranium and the florals and that opening and the moss as well that makes it very appropriate for an older gentleman or an older lady, somebody who is a bit more mature. In terms of the presentation, I personally love it. Everything from the hand-polished bottle, the Zamac cap, the gold foil lettering. I used my synesthesia to select the color of the bottle. So I absolutely love everything about this fragrance. And obviously this is a conflict of interest because I am the creative director for this brand. I'm very invested in this brand. And obviously I think very highly of this fragrance when I have hundreds of prototypes pitched to me and I end up shortlisting it to this one. And so I truly feel as though this is the culmination of my 8 years of experience on YouTube and also being a collector of fragrance since the age of 10 and just being passionate about fragrance my entire life. And so I'm hoping you have the chance to try this fragrance, and I'm hoping that you can take advantage of the deal that is currently going on the website where it is priced at a significant discount, 30% off. So you can actually get a 50 milliliter bottle of this fragrance for under $100, which I think is a spectacular deal. And if you do live internationally, we do offer free international shipping on purchases of 2 items or more. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I hope you took some value from this video, and I also hope that you've had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about this fragrance, what I get from it, and also the creation of it, as well as some of the more specific information and tidbits. If you did take something of value from this video, please do consider subscribing to this channel. It's easy and it's free. All you need to do is click that red button in the corner. And also please make sure to click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button. This way, whenever I do upload future fragrance related content, it'll get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. Thanks again for watching. Love you all. We'll see you next time. Bye.